My name is Taylor Hipp, and I'm an intern here at Sports Philanthropy Network. Aaron is also here as a host, and he is an intern with me. Thank you all for joining us today for the mentoring panel. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to the moderator to begin.
Thanks. I'm Howard Brown. I hope everyone's had a great day at Sports Philanthropy World. We are just been so much good dialogue and networking going on and messaging and lessons to be learned here. So I'm thrilled to actually moderate this panel on mentoring, because mentoring as one, I've mentored and I continue to do so to teams of people at startup businesses, and as well as for fundraising and in the cancer world. But also I have mentors that have actually helped been real guides to my life, and continue to this day to have mentors that I go to in times of joy and times of need. So I'm going to go around. We have an esteemed panel with us today, and we'll start with ladies first. Dianne, please introduce yourself, and we'll get started.
Okay, thank you, Howard. Great to be here. I was at the first conference that Roy hosted 2 years ago in Chicago, so happy to be back here as a panelist. Got a lot out of that. So basically, I have a company, McGraw Productions. It's a sports and entertainment production company. Anything from branded entertainment, live stage production, sports events. But my career started in sports in my early 20s, moved to New York, thought I was going to be into the entertainment world and acting, and found I pivoted into the sports world, but into the production of sports events. So I ran tennis in New York for 5 years, lived in Holland and Germany, ran tennis over there, came back to the United States. And I started working for Citi. So I was the president of the Philadelphia Sports Congress, the Orlando Sports Commission, the Los Angeles Sports and Entertainment Commission, and the Louisville Sports Commission. And my job was to go out and bid on major events, NCAA championships, Olympics, PGA, World Cup soccer, Super Bowl. So if it was a sporting event, it fell under my office. I was also the tourism director and film commissioner for the state of Pennsylvania. Now, this is all in a period of 30 years, so I didn't hop around too much. I was, had a long time to get through all that. But what I'm doing now that's kind of interesting, falling under this subject, is I have a mentoring program. I'm introducing students to careers behind the scenes in the sports and entertainment industry. And we're about ready to launch that this year with a book that I have coming out. And I can talk a little bit more about that, if you want to move on. But it's an exciting program showing high school and college students, what are the jobs behind the scenes in sports and entertainment, film, music, performing arts, sporting. And so we mentor those high school and college students, and we introduce them to the industry professionals, and we try to give them, at least a clue about what's out there besides playing sports. So there's so many different jobs. So that's our program. It's called the Dare to Dream Experience. And I'm excited to launch it in January of 22.
Very cool. Dia, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so my name is Syed. I am from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. My company is called Girls in Sports Alberta. So mine's been an interesting journey. My sporting journey started when I was quite young, as many athletes. I did end up I went to university a while ago, ended up actually getting hired by a company called Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I was an account manager for them for 5 years in management as well. And I was with them for a total about 7 years, and then decided to do a career path as I started to coach during that time. So I did a career change and wanted to go back to school. So I actually went back to school and just recently completed my BA in social sciences with a concentration in kinesiology, and it kind of launched me on my path to my current company, which was a research-based company. Initially was based out of a class. I was just wanting to look at numbers for girls' participation in our area. I was only supposed to get about maybe 5 responses. It was an introductory class. Just in my area alone, I ended up getting, just for this survey, 440 responses and about 90 people agreeing to this interview. I only interviewed about 50 just with the communication piece. And and it just kind of exploded. And what I realized, people wanted to see change in Alberta. So Girls in Sports Alberta was formed. And so a lot of what I do and a lot of the programs that we have are really research based. So when it comes to this panel with mentorship, we have a mentorship program. It's a very unique mentorship program, obviously, because it's virtual because of COVID. So that kind of opened a lot of doors, but we have athletes across Canada and the United States. And actually we have one in Europe as well too. And we connect them with athletes, with local clubs, athletes, to basically do either a Q&A session or anything the club really wants. They want to talk about an injury or whatever they might have been through in that journey through, to be able to open the doors for athletes in smaller towns and in smaller towns in the area to be able to see the path that they can take, right? And not all athletes are going to go pro, but at least they can see that, going to university, NCAA, youth sports as a possibility. And so that's a part of the mentorship program that we just recently launched as well. And so that's been really exciting as well. So it's been a really interesting journey, because I kind of fell from sales into sports, and I absolutely love where I'm going, and I'm really excited to continue where I'm going as well too.
Yeah, and the pandemic has closed doors, and it's opened many doors, because now we're a connected world over, Teams and Zoom and WebEx and all that sort of stuff. So Chauncey?
How you guys doing? I appreciate you guys having me. I'm Chauncey Beckett, owner of MVM Training. My journey with becoming a mentor has been a long one, even though I'm only 26 years old. I guess it all started back in high school. So in high school, we would have a summer camp, and our basketball coach would make us coach every year. So I started off when I was 14 years old. I had to work this camp, and my coach stuck me with the youngest kids. And they just loved me. I don't know. I loved them and they loved me. So that's kind of how I got started. And then from there, I got into teaching at a daycare. From there, I got into coaching. From coaching, I actually met the kid who actually came up with the name of my business. So he was the first kid I personally mentored and coached. And his name is Nick Lachey. And he's actually just signed he just signed a scholarship to go play baseball. So I feel good about that. So that made me happy. But that's kind of how I got into this business. I got into mentoring and stuff, and it came from that, just being around kids, realizing my coach always used to tell me when younger, if you're not working with kids or helping kids, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And when he would tell me that when I was younger, I was kind of oh, okay, cool. I want to be a professional athlete, not even knowing that will be mentorship too. But so from there, I started training this kid, then I started coaching. Then from coaching, I went to school. I was oh, I can still play basketball. Let me go back to school. So I went back to school, played basketball. Then I realized how much I missed training and coaching. Some of my kids, I didn't realize how much of an impact I had on my kids. Some of my kids quit sports. Some of them just didn't have the passion anymore as they did when they were playing for me. And I kind of took that as a burden. And I was I'm going back. I'm going back. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to train kids. I'm going to mentor kids. And I'm going to get on that. And then now I've been kind of rocking I've been probably mentoring since I was 14. So 12 years. But officially as a business, that's going on 3 years now with COVID. And I just can't be more excited. I'm excited to help kids. I'm excited to help families. I'm excited to help everybody.
It's amazing, because you can be a mentor and at a very young age, because there's lessons to be learned. And I think that it's a beautiful story. I want to kick it back over to Dianne to basically, how does someone get started? People say, I know that Dia, you have a program that sort of actually gives access and connects them and makes that connection. That's beautiful. I had not heard of that before, and that's beautiful. We'll talk about girls empowerment mentoring specifically in a second. But Dianne, what's some of the basics that people need to know in order how to get started and look for a mentor, and mentors to look for mentees? How do we make that match?
Mm-hmm. So actually, with my program, it's the Dare to Dream Experience program. I'm sort of the poster child for that, because I didn't go to college. I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. And I was so eager to learn and to meet people that I kept myself open whenever someone, wanted to give me some suggestions or whatever. I always took it. And I had a lot of people that helped me along the way. So I was able to launch into a career just because I kept my ears and my eyes open. And I was open to, people helping me and all of that, which doesn't always happen. So I was a little bit of a anomaly there that, I was able to have a very successful career, become an executive without a college education. So what I try to do is tell students, and the reason that Dare to Dream actually started was a high school student in South Central Los Angeles. When I was running the Sports and Entertainment Commission, they had won the state championship. And so the mayor said, I want to congratulate them, bring the kids to my office and so forth. And we did. And this one young junior in high school said, what's your job? Like, what do you do? And I said, well, you know how they have the Super Bowl and they have the Final Fours and the NBA All-Star games. We put those events on. And once they come to the city, we help them organize it. And he said, how do I get a job like that? And I said, well, Jimmy, you might not think that English is important, but you have to write proposals and you have to make presentations. Math is important. You have to do budgets. And so, you're a junior in high school now, like get the most out of school that you can. Try to go on to college. If you can't, you can go to a trade school as well. So the next thing the whole team was at my end of the table. And the principal and mayor said, what is going on there? And they asked me if I would go to the school and talk about my job. So I hired this intern, Jimmy was a junior. And after a summer of working with me, he said, Mrs. McGraw, I just want to say thank you. Now I know there's a job for me in sports if I don't make it playing basketball. So that was the genesis of Dare to Dream. And I also want to mention, I was married to a professional athlete, played for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he won a World Series. And so he had a very successful career and post-career with appearances and, working for companies and so forth. But there's a lot of young athletes out there now who want to aspire to be professional athletes. And the chance that they're all going to make it is very slim. So we try to show them that there are jobs, that you can still work in sports. So to embrace information and try to get as much information, try to get the training that you need to launch yourself into a career. So I'm not sure if I answered totally your question, but
I think you did, because listen, there's a television commercial. I don't know if it's Enterprise or Rent-A-Car, but or the NCAA that says that most people are not going to major in professional sports, and the average careers of professional sports, at least in pro football, is like 3 years. You have to get these skill sets. So I like some of the things that you referred to. Being open to being coachable. Getting some of these skills of math, understanding what a spreadsheet is and a budget, understanding public speaking. These are real skills that you actually need in order to actually, work on a team and exist and improve. But being open to that and being able to listen, that's kind of all we did. And, you hope that your mentor, is going to steer you in the right direction, and that's always the intention. It doesn't always happen that way, but many times it does. And so, from Chauncey, your impact on those kids, it's one that's driving you, but, the amount of good that you showed them, and, you show them they can do it. And sometimes that's all you need. You need someone to believe in you. Okay. Not always, people broke up in broken homes. I thank God I have my mom and dad. My dad shot baskets with me all the time. I played Division III basketball. I was really good at one time. But I shot basket after basket. He rebounded with me and he believed in me. He was my biggest fan. Not everybody has that. And so I think mentorship is really important. So Dia, tell me about this, because this is really amazing, because women and girls empowerment, I love your program. But, girls typically may be shyer, maybe not, but, what are we doing with women and mentors and showing them great role models?
Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting. Girls, so when I was doing research, I found that girls they like the closest of connection. A lot of times they don't tend to look up to not that there's a lot of them, but the pro female athletes that are out there, that are visible. A lot of the times they'll say, oh, no, my role model, my mentor is my coach, a sibling or who, like in that realm, or a parent as well. and I find that girls really want that connection. Like it's really, really important to make that connection, to begin that mentorship, and to begin to kind of break down the barrier between mentee and mentor, to be able to make that, to be able to talk about some real things, right? And that's what girls really like. And again, like doing the research, and me personally, I coach women's volleyball, or girls volleyball, sorry, for 8 years, and I found that coaching just went beyond the skills. A lot of the times I had girls come and talk to me about things that they really need. I had parents come and talk to me and to ask advice to give to their girls. I'm going like, oh my gosh, if I screw up. And that was terrifying a little bit, but it was very also like they understood the importance of the connection when it came to girls. And so, you know, this pandemic's been hard. Like when you look at this pandemic, it's been hard because that connection you can't really get, right? Because we're all on video. In Alberta here, we had a complete stop on all physical activity and sports. Even outdoor physical activity was done. Like we couldn't do that for like a month or something like that. And it's hard because if you don't have that face-to-face connection or in-person connection, then girls can feel really alone in that kind of atmosphere. So, you know, when you look at the program that I've built, I've kind of taken the virtual aspect and be able to, at least, I know video is not the best, but at least you're able to connect face to face and really get to know that person. I've got to know a lot of amazing people over Zoom and video. I never would have gotten to know it if COVID hadn't hit, quite frankly. And a lot of people who have given me advice, mentored me, and so being able to do that for these girls and be able to create that initial connection and communication, open communication, you know, and a lot of things are done online anyway with the new generation, through Instagram, through Snapchat, through not even email, I shouldn't say email, and not even Facebook anymore. So it's really about making that connection and being able to freely talk between your mentor, the mentor and mentee, and talk about anything, not just the sport you're within. Because if the girl can talk about anything and feel that comfortable, then you're more likely to make that connection and build upon that, and you're more likely to inspire them to move to wherever they need to go or want to go because they see you in that same path. So it's been a really interesting time, especially because we're trying to connect virtual with what you normally would consider a mentorship program. But the impact it has made in the sessions we've done has been really cool, and it's just getting to refine that to make sure, like Dianne was saying, like getting those you know, starting those initial connections and how to properly do mentorship virtually. So it's a challenge, but I know it can be done. And I know that, you know, by creating those personal connections, that a lot more girls will be more willing to approach a sport, be more confident because they have somebody to be really kind of fall back on. To say, hey, I had an injury, or, you know, this person said something bad about me and I don't want to continue with this team, but I'm stuck with this team for another 2 months. What do I do? Right. And that type of advice keeps girls in sports because maybe that mentor has gone through that. Like I went through that. Right. So it's really being able to build on that. So it's amazing. And once it happens, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you see flowers bloom and shyness go away. But I will tell you that mentoring happened before this digital age. I know we're in this Zoom and FaceTime world, but I have to tell you, I walked into my professor's office and sat down and, you know, laid it out there. And you know, we'll get back to that. But that was before cell phones and before we actually had the internet. When I was in college, you go in and you sit down and you talk with someone. And coffee was still served then and still served now. And, you know, we will get back to that face-to-face, but we are breaking down a lot of barriers, you know, with this technology, and it's a starter. I think that one of the biggest things that, you know, we're all missing is hugs. You know, I haven't hugged my mom in 15 months. I mean, I think all you can agree that that's just unacceptable, and we're going to get there. And that's going to be a great time. So we'll move forward with that. I will say that, you know, mentoring is a two-way street. So I think that, you know, what's some advice for a mentee, Chauncey, that, you know, you would give as you were both a mentee and a mentor? What's some advice for the mentee?
I would say in both. So as a mentee, just really just listening and understanding and watching what they do, watching how they act. Like with my mentor, I got blessed. My first two mentors that happened. One was a Furberg colonel, and the other one, his wife, was the first African-American to fly a C-5. So they were in Forbes magazine for what they were doing and stuff. And for me personally, was just the title of what they had was enough for me to just kind of just like, here, I'm here, whatever you got, just tell me. But it was really just like understanding that, like, you know, as kids and stuff, like we think we know everything. So really me putting like my guard down and being like, okay, let me trust this person. That wasn't my mom. It wasn't my dad. And at first it was a weird thing for me because my experience with my parents was different. Like I was raised by my mom. So with his wife, I was really understanding. And at first with him, I was kind of like headbutting. And then after a while, I was just kind of like, all right, I'm just gonna, you're in this for a good reason. Like you're actually here, you're here to listen. So for like a mentee, from a mentee standpoint, it's just like the actual, like letting yourself go and letting someone get to know you, especially when you're younger. Like when we're younger, like opening our feelings and like talking and like really having conversation is like weird. Like we're used, like especially kids now, like you say technology, they're used to being on the phone and on stuff, not having a face-to-face conversation. It's weird when someone comes up to you like, hey, what's your dreams? What's your goals? Like, what do you want to do with your life? For kids, it's just like, oh, I want to be an astronaut or anything. But like my mentor really was like, what do you really want to do with your life? Like, it's cool to just throw something out there. So that was the one thing. And as a mentor, I think it was actually the process of learning from my mentees was more than me teaching them. I feel like you said earlier, like I learned so much more from them just as much as they learned from me. And they probably don't know that. I still tell them to this day, but I'm like, I learned so much more as a mentor from them than I think they learned from me, but they probably feel the opposite. So like the mentors thing was just like being a good example as a mentor, like understanding every single thing, literally every single thing you do, they're watching, especially if you have a mentee who's around you a lot. So like my first mentee, he was around me 24/7. I told his parents, I used to tell his parents all the time, like, they're like, thank you for all you're doing. I'm like, no, thank you for allowing me to work with your kid. I know that's like a big step as a parent to allow a man to be in your kid's life that one, they didn't even meet me at first. It was just a kid like, oh, I'm going to train with this guy. So I was like, hey, I should probably meet your parents. Like he came every day after school to work out. I was like, I should probably meet your parents. So that, and just being a mentor, being a good role model to them, being understanding that they go through things too. Like just like we go through things, they go through things too. So being able to listen, I had to become a way better listener when I became a trainer and a mentor. Like I never thought that. I thought it would just be me teaching. But I had to learn to listen twice as much as I teach. So I think that's that. And then another thing was, I think you just hit a point where I'm at right now with some of my mentees that I train. They're asking me for so much, like, should I do this? Should I play for this team? Should I do this? And then as a mentor, you're like, I don't want to give you what's best for what I think was best for the situation. I kind of want you to kind of figure it out. And then I want to guide you through that process. So like that is still a process I'm going through right now. So I guess I'm still in a mentee role in that as a mentor, but like being like, am I saying what's best for you? Or am I saying what's best for, I would have thought is for me when I was your age. So like that fine line of figuring that out is a big step of the process too, for the mentor. I would say the listening for sure. And the understanding that they are watching.
I want to add one more because I went through a formal, a big brother, big sister program in LA. And I asked, I've been, the Big Brother program that I went through ends at age 18. And it formalized with some scholarship money to college and master's and law school. So it was beautiful. I asked him, I said, what's the thing that you thought about? And he's like, you spent time with me. And he said, really, that commitment of spending time with me, because his dad was in prison, his single mom. And he said, you decided to take valuable time and spend time with me. And when, we went to our first rock concert together, sporting events, we played chess on the beach, we went for a bike ride. We had some really experimental stuff. And because it was a formalized program, we actually, again, there were no cell phones, there was no internet. This is early on in the 90s. And basically we would call on every other week. So you had to go for 4 to 6 hours, and then every other week you would call. So there was consistency for that program. Now there were matches that didn't make it for lots of reasons. Ours made it, and ours is still going strong. My daughter calls my little uncle. And so we are family, and not all relationships have that longevity. Not all of them have that, get to the point where I get, but there's certainly, that was the biggest thing. And also I was willing to actually kind of do things that he wanted to do. And boy, was that fun. I got to be a kid all over again and experience it through his eyes and just seeing what it is. And I have a daughter, and you try to be a mentor to your kids. And I was a soccer team manager, and she played travel soccer. And I went through this whole process of trying to, be a good role model and for your daughter and stuff like that. And it's parenting is a form of mentorship, but when you're doing it for someone else, it's really a blessing. And so I want to go back to Dianne a little bit and talk about some of your experiences as well.
I think that you have to maintain or establish that trust factor with your mentee, that they know and that they know that they can rely on you. But also be realistic with them, keep the communication open, that if you're not going to be available, you can't let them wonder, where are you, whatever. You need to, establish some of those guidelines, get to know each other's personalities, be a good listener and a good sounding board for them. Listen to what they want to do and, not always tell them what they should be doing, I suppose. You want to offer support to them, but you don't want to, but you want to promote independence too. And you want them to feel like they have, you're not telling them everything that they need to, that they have it's a two-way street, I guess I should say. So, and maintain contact with them, give them constructive criticism, don't be, don't criticize them, but, tell them when you think that they need to hear something. And I think the whole thing just comes down to trust and being reliable.
It does. And unfortunately, mentorship isn't always rosy. There's stuff that happens. They can come to you with medical concern, or if someone's tempting them to do drugs, and these are younger, of course, there's real some of that real stuff, that real life that comes into play here. And there's times when you have to actually, at least I did, was, listen, we're going to talk to your mom together. Okay. We're going to talk to your mom together. Okay. And we got to get this out on the table. And I think that showed a lot as well. I would say that, it took time. This magic doesn't happen overnight. So I've been doing it for a long time, and I have a great frame of reference there. I will tell you that when I mentor, startup businesses, students in college, entrepreneurial businesses and things like that, the biggest thing that I hate is that if they ditch you, or they actually, they don't have to take my advice, but if they're not committed, why should I be committed? And so there has to be a two-way street there, if we're both going to do it. And if I don't have the time to do it either, you got to be honest, don't take on that commitment as well, because there becomes a reliance. But there's different times. It can be a quick hit where I get someone an internship, they say thank you, and we don't talk again. That's still okay. So, Dia, do you see things evolving from once you match them with an athlete, or they quickly go through a Q&A and it's one and done, or is there a continuance there on that process?
Yeah, so it's more open to clubs right now, because what the framework that we have with the mentorship program is accessibility. You mentioned it earlier, is the accessibility, and then you can build on the relationship. So what we do and what we're working on currently, this actually is just this is after our restrictions are getting lifted. So this should start rolling out soon, but we're trying to integrate our mentorship program into clubs where we have one player dedicated to a session once a month with these athletes, and then they also have a dedicated email line as well that they can communicate with their athletes. And if it goes beyond that, in terms of more video face-to-face and being individual, then that's kind of on their own time. But we start initiating that conversation and getting them comfortable with the mentors so that they can find their match, and they help find their match, right? So we'll do a team of 12, and then if they want to if maybe 2 or 3 of them want to continue contact with this specific mentor or with one of our athletes, then we give them an email address and we get them more comfortable and the parent comfortable with that content, since it is across Canada, it's not face-to-face. And then it kind of builds after that. So our mentorship program just launched this year, so we're still in the beginning stages of developing more of the deeper connections. But the goal is, again, like making that accessible so that somebody in, you know, small town Alberta can have the same access as somebody who's in, you know, Edmonton and is playing for University of Alberta. They might be able to access a mentor from there really easily, but maybe somebody like myself, who I am from a small town in Alberta, I wasn't able to find an athlete that would have probably provided me more direction in terms of where I wanted to go as an athlete. So that's kind of where we're at with the program. And then we're hoping that through this program, we can continue to develop those relationships across Zoom or face-to-face. If they live in the same area, they can meet up and continue that relationship.
No, absolutely. I wish there were more. Again, maybe I'm lacking, but Dianne, are there lots of programs, or are they in the rarity as far as you know, mentorship programs for high school, college students, even younger students out there, or maybe even Chauncey? Do you know? Is there lots of programs, or is this something that's under the radar and needs more funding and more light shined on it?
Definitely something I think that needs more. We need more of it right now. So what I do as my day job when I'm not training, I work at an alternatives high school where it's like a bunch of kids who parents are either on drugs or maybe they just adopted and stuff. And a lot of teachers like teaching there. A lot of teachers don't like teaching there because it's alternative stuff. I like teaching there specifically because of those type of kids. Like I could have went and taught at my old high school or whatnot, but a lot of those kids are more have everything, and these kids are more, they need something. So we have programs like that. I actually was in a program in high school. What helped me a lot, I had a mentor. It was called Boys Leadership Program, and a lady whose daughter was actually in the Virginia Tech shooting a while back. She started a program for young kids who were like just anything. For us, it wasn't even, some of our kids, it wasn't even like in trouble kids or nothing. It was just a bunch of kids, minority kids. They put us all in a group just to kind of help us out. Like, it was like we would do dinners, lunching. She would bring in new people to speak to us. Just like job opportunities, like, hey, you need a job in this area. These places are hiring. They would go take us to job fairs and things like that. Just kind of getting us. Most of us were athletes. We're going to the NFL, NBA guys. So they just gave us that avenue where there's other options. Like they took us one time to a place to go read books for kids, and my basketball team actually did that too. So I think besides like if your team or if you're in a school, we don't really have too much of that, like besides that I know about. There might be more programs, but that's something that I'm interested in getting into after I've sat down and tried to talk to some of the county leaders and like, hey, I think this would be good for, especially for alternative schools. I think this would be a good program for kids because a lot of kids don't have anything. Like my kid that I personally mentored over COVID, his uncle's always at work and his mom passed away from drug addiction. So now at that point, like all the teachers are like, oh, this kid is this, he's this. I'm like, well, this kid needs somebody. So if I'm the guy that he needs, I'll be there. I'll sit there. I'm not really worried about what homework he can or cannot do. I'm worried about getting him through the day, really, at that point. So mentors it's so up and down, but we do not have enough programs like that. I know that for sure. I would have loved to have.
I think through the Sports Philanthropy Network now, I mean, you're going to see a lot of organizations you don't even know about that are out there that are doing that. And especially now today with the whole initiatives around, social justice and so forth, a lot of sports teams and leagues and companies are now reaching out into communities and they want to help and they want to put money towards programs. So I think you're going to see a new wave of organizations coming up that are doing that. And so that's a good thing. And I know just here in Philadelphia, we have the Philadelphia Youth Network, you have the Police Athletic League. Of course, you have your Big Brothers and Big Sisters, all the typical programs, the Laureus Foundation, which is international. I think they've been here at the program and speaking. They do a lot for cultivating and mentoring students too. So
well, there's camps that your counselor can be a mentor, and there's YMCA and Boys and Girls Club. So I'm not saying we're void of programming, but and void of options. There are, But I still think that there's many kids that we're missing. I think there's an unmet need out there that we need to move forward. And certainly there's to be a mentor. It's hard to describe how rewarding it's been for me. But I'm going to try, because I'm coming out and publishing a memoir this fall called Shining Brightly, and I have a full chapter on mentoring, and it's going to feature my relationship with my little, and not what I gave, but really what I got from it. So it's truly great. I do think that that it takes time, it takes commitment. I refer people that come to me if they, for example, I'm not really big into finance, but I know lots of people in finance, and so I become a referrer. And I say, listen, you really want to talk to this person? You're going to get use of their time. Be cognizant of that, and see if they can be a sounding board. Ask questions. See if they'll actually refer you, or if they have internship opportunities at that bank or at the facility and things like that. But I think that that's half the access battle. And because sometimes they just say, someone, we don't know them, they don't know me, and so getting there. But listen, I take a lot of LinkedIn requests very seriously, especially from Babson students, but other people that approach me from this conference. And you can't help everyone, but you know people that can. So I think referring people is vital as well. What other stuff that you guys what do we miss? What do we need to address here?
I just actually want to make a comment on that, the programs that are available.
Yeah, please do.
So I think the mentorship, like you kind of mentioned, I think mentorship's not talked about in the language that people, like we talk mentorship, and I think mentorship is happening in different areas, but I don't think it's talked of like mentorship. I'm mentoring you, I'm doing this, and that path, and also becoming a good mentor. I think people stumble into these roles and go like, oh, like as a coach, I knew mentorship was a part of coaching, but I also stumbled into that going, oh, we're going this far now. I didn't realize that was going to happen, or, oh, I didn't realize how much of a connection I'd have with them. And so even though there's not a program based around it, it's just not talked about as mentorship. Maybe more as role models or whatever it might be. I find the word role models and mentorship can be interchangeable, where there are quite different. Role models, somebody you do look up to, but may not, for at least to me, you don't have that personal relationship with. When I think mentorship, I think personal relationship, but a lot of times people just interchange it. We're like, oh, I have a role model in, say the name, because I talk with them, or because I'm with them every day, or they're training me, or they're whatever it might be. So I think if we make the conversation like more about mentorship, more about him here for you, a role model as a mentor, people will begin to see the need for it and participate more in these programs as well too. And that's the thing, like I think at least up here sometimes I think we struggle to connect mentors and mentees, just because they don't really know, they don't see the importance, they don't see the value. Not that if you ask somebody what's the value of mentorship, they'll know it, but actually taking that initial step to start, like you said, it's really awkward that first time communication. It's about making that easier and just making it just normal, being able to be normal, and not in every industry, not just the sports industry, but every industry. Because I've had a personal journey of trying to find a mentor, and to be quite honest with you, it's been hard. And I've found multiple people who I look up to, but none that I can say I have a really super personal relationship with, especially in the female part of it, where there's a lot of males who've helped me along the path in terms of my sports related career, my personal growth in terms of my company, but I've struggled in the female department, right? Because I find it's a very cut and dry. It's like, okay, I'm with this girl, so you know what, I can't help you here, right? And I've run into that a couple of times. So making it normal, I'm mentoring you and you and you because I'm doing this program and I just hang out with you on the side, and that's your mentorship, form of mentorship, right? So I just wanted to make that point as well too. I think sometimes the language and what mentorship is maybe not clear to everybody.
I think you're right, because it can be very informal. And listen, our coaches are a mentor, a pastor could be a mentor, our teachers mentor, if they're willing to spend a little extra time. So again, it can be informal. There are formalized programs. Dia, it's your lucky day because I have a huge network and I have two people that I'm going to introduce you to. And I see really, really good things that I'm going to happen on your way, and we'll do that offline. Let's take this. We got about five more minutes here. What kind of final things should we discuss, or do you want to comment on that we haven't hit yet, Dianne?
One of the things I want to mention to Dia, especially working with young girls and in your program, I think one of the characteristics that we need to help these young people with is self-confidence, and to not be afraid to talk to anyone or ask a question or speak up, particularly. Now I know, starting in sports when I did, and mostly a male-dominated, area, there were many times when I was afraid if I was going to say something, if it wasn't going to be received well, or I was going to, look like I didn't know what I was talking about. But I had to overcome that, because if I was going to stay in that, space and in that area, I had to build up my confidence. So I think that's an area that mentors should focus on with the kids, with their mentees, is helping them to build their confidence, to not be afraid to pursue something or ask a question or feel that they can't, express themselves. So I think that's an important aspect of.
Yeah, I think Dia, you're telling me that there was, you put out the word and you got more than you could handle, right? 400, and then you got to 90, and then you actually interviewed 50. So I think that's showing that there's definitely a need out there. So in order to scale this up, is it a funding issue? Is it a bandwidth issue? Is it something that you're doing only part-time or voluntarily based? Was it all the above?
You're hitting a lot of the key points there. So no, there is some funding issues, obviously, with COVID and just sports in general. It's really hard to fund. And especially with these type of programs, a lot of funding is based on programs where it's like, here's a start date, here's an end date. And I don't operate that way. I'm like, here's what I can do. I can integrate this into that. So definitely funding has been an issue. I am doing this voluntarily. It is a startup business, so I am doing this voluntarily. I think things are coming in and things are going really well, and I'm getting the network, and like this has been an awesome experience as well too. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting journey on that. And actually, Dianne, to your point, I'm actually starting a program called Confidence Kids. That's a part of that, and that's where another part of the funding is. So I'm actually really specifically focusing on building confidence before they hit the junior high age, through physical activity and different confidence building techniques, so that when they do hit that junior high age, they have the ability to walk through what I almost stopped sports because of what happened, right? So they have the ability to walk through that. And so that we're working on that to get a pilot project going on, because that was the biggest thing that came out of my research was confidence. Confidence is not there, and it's a tank. And I know and a part of that Confidence Kids program is mentorship. That's a huge part of that. So, but yeah, like Howard, it is really all of the above, to your point. But I mean, it is being a startup business. But there's also good traction going, and people see the need. So I'm really excited about this.
There are folks that Comcast has a sports accelerator for sports businesses. There's a gaming venture capitalist in Philadelphia, 76 Capital. Yeah, I know those folks well. And then Tom Ferry, formerly of Outside the Lines and ESPN, is the executive director at the Aspen Institute of Sport and Society. So these are connected people that can help in the cause. And it's important to reach out to them as well. And so that's just how the world goes around. So is making introductions and seeing if that works. I just came off of the film and the video panel, and I actually just learned about Sports Kind. It's a USA Today Productions, and you submit video from TikTok to that. They want good stories in sports. I got to tell you, what you're doing, Chauncey, what you're doing, Dia, that's good stuff. And if they're willing to submit a testimonial or a video, Sports Kind is actually probably willing to basically produce it. Now, you give up the rights to that video, and they, but they're getting, giving you a platform to tell good things. And I just learned about it today by moderating a film and video panel. And so there are ways to get the message out as well. And there are lots of sessions we had today on getting and telling your story and having that broadcast out there wide as well. So I'll give you each, I'll go around the horn. We'll start with you, Chauncey. Any last things that we didn't cover, or you want to state about your biz and about what you're doing?
So me, I'm looking to just change kids' lives, honestly. We talked about earlier on the panel of what success meant to me. And I think for the kids, success isn't necessarily making it pro or anything. If that's what they want to do, obviously I'm all for it. But I think success is getting out of the sport or whatever you're doing, what you're putting in. Like if it's just, okay, I only made it to Division III or whatever, which some kids don't like, but me, I'm pushing that now. Like, okay, you're still in that Division III, but you're still going to school, getting a great education. You're doing this. And now you got out of basketball, which you couldn't have got somewhere else. You still got money taken off your loans. You still got this, you still got that. And then another thing that I would say that's super important for me is just being honest. Like I think I've had so much success with kids because I've told them my story. So straight from as soon as they meet me, they know I'm not perfect. Like as soon as they meet me, they know I'm not perfect. They know this is what I've been through. This is what I've had to go through. And then for some of them, and I'll tell them straight up, once they get to like that 7th, 8th grade, I'm like, when you're getting close to high school, this is what's going to happen. And I can't really necessarily prevent them from doing it or things happening to them, but I can at least give them the guideline. Like, this is the playbook. This is what's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like, this is how high school is. This is going to happen. You're going to have people trying to get you to go to parties. You're going to have people do this. You're going to have people try to take you this. You're going to have bad influence. You have good influence. It's up to you to make the choice. I can help, but I can't do it for you. As you were saying earlier, I can't do it for you. I have to let you make the choices. So I'm just giving you a guideline. So I think like one of my biggest things for mentoring was just honesty with the kids. Like, I think once they find out I'm not perfect, like obviously when a kid meets you, they already idolize you. They already think you're perfect. You're the perfect thing in their eyes. So I think once you give them that gives them that self-confidence. And that's where that self-confidence comes from. Like, oh, wait, you're not perfect and you're like this. I think that brings their confidence, and then they start seeing, and then once you get to know them and stuff, it just becomes better. So those are two things I think that are real important for me.
Chauncey, we need more Chaunceys, man. What you're doing is great work. And I got to tell you that I played Division III basketball and I'm 55, still playing ball. Listen, we didn't have the 3-pointer, but now I'm a 3-point shooter. So sports can still stay with you. It just takes a different form factor. But the love of the game, that can stay for a long time. Dia, you're up next.
Yeah, you know what, I can just kind of echo Chauncey's. It's just that honesty and like that connection. It's so important, because once you find that connection, it's incredible what happens, and it's incredible how you can just move through life, and you know, you look up to them, they look, and just being a mentor myself, like the craziest thing is like having them like years later say, hey, I'm playing volleyball at this school for my school team. Do you want to come watch? And I've had that a couple of times, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, because it's just like, man, this means I made a difference in their life, and they like me. They want to be around me. They want to have me a part of their lives even after I'm done coaching them, and it just makes it, you know, so much more valuable. And then so I think, you know, that because I was honest with them, I was very, like, at one point there was one individual on my team. I was the girl who couldn't serve on the team when I was playing for volleyball. And so my team treated me like, oh, she's serving again. We don't know if it's going to happen. So when I had a girl very similar on my team a couple years back, and I saw that look on all my team's faces, and I just was like, nope, stop. We got to talk about this, because this is not right. This is what you're doing to her right now is going to set her up for failure. And we talked about it, and she ended up being one of the best servers on her team, and an incredible server, an incredible volleyball player, somebody who just went from an individual sport to a team sport, was a captain. She just was an absolutely amazing athlete. But it was all because this team was able to give the confidence to her, and I was able to see that because I went through that, and I know what happens. Even to this day, I get freaked out when I serve. I'm like, oh my God, if I'm gonna miss them, people are gonna like look at me funny, and I shouldn't have that, right? And so I was able to share that, and so being honest about my flaws, like you said, Chauncey, is so empowering to the girls, because they know that, hey, and anybody really, hey, I can do this, and everybody's not perfect.
I love that, Dia. Thank you for sharing that. That's special. It really is. And it makes it all worth it. Dianne, we're going to give you the last word to bring us home.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, I'd really like to put it out there that we're trying to reach as many high school kids and college students as possible with our program. We've lined up some incredible people that are going to be part of this virtual event, from the PGA to Sony Music to Lord of the Rings to all these great sports and entertainment companies. And we want to give access to as many kids as possible. They can come on, they can join for free for the program. And there's another program where they can get a little bit more. There's a book coming out. There's a resource guide that's going to help them. really look at how do they get to their career? How do the high school kids choose the right college or trade school or higher education? How do the college students connect with the industry people? So we really want to just reach as many kids as possible. And I'm hoping through platforms like this, I can talk a little bit about it. I thank Roy for giving me that opportunity. And hopefully, some of the little tidbits of information that I gave out today was helpful to some. And so this is a great platform, the Sports Philanthropy Network, and I'm just thrilled to be part of it today. So thank you.
I have to tell you, this was special. It was a really great session for us to share and get to know each other, and we'll connect and stay connected. I have some referrals for you. We'll connect over LinkedIn and we can continue that on. But thank you. I'm grateful for your time. You're each doing great work. It's mentorship, as I said, makes the world go round, and if done properly and right. And thank you for your sharing your experiences out today, and keep doing good work. And thanks to the Sports Philanthropy Network and Sports Philanthropy World. What a great day, great couple days here. And onward, keep on going on. Stay safe out there as things open up. And I look forward to connecting with you. And thank you again.